Before there was a city called Ogbomoso, before walls rose, before kings sat upon thrones, there was a hunter alone beneath the forest sky. His name was Ogunlola, a man of the wilderness, a man whose footsteps carved destiny from dust and silence. They say he walked with courage where others saw only fear, that he spoke to the spirits of the wild, and from his hands came the birth of a nation. But legends are not born in peace. They are forged in fire, in blood, and in the test of the gods. When a terror named Elemoso rose against the mighty Oyo Empire, warriors fell like leaves in Harmattan wind, until one man, a prisoner, a hunter condemned, rose to face the beast. With nothing but his bow, his wits, and his will, he struck in the dark. And when dawn came, he carried the head of his enemy in his hands. From that moment he was no longer Ogunlola. He became Ogbori Elemosho, he who brought the head of Elemoso. And from that act of courage, a city was born, a city that would stand against empires, wars, and centuries of change. This is the story of the hunter who became a king, the founder of Ogbomoso, the man whose courage named a people. This is Soun Ogunlola. This is Ogbori Elemosho. In the mid-17th century, deep in the dense forests of what is now southwestern Nigeria, a fearless hunter of Bariba origin, ventured into uncharted territory. His name was Ogunlola, though historians believe this may have been a nickname given by early Yoruba settlers in honor of his prowess as a hunter and adventurer. Accompanied by his wife, Esuu, Ogunlola settled around 1650 beneath a towering ajagbon tree, a tree that still stands today near the Soun's palace in the city of Ogbomoso as a living testament to its founding. From these humble beginnings, Ogunlola's courage and leadership would give birth to a community, earn him the title Soun, traditional ruler of Ogbomoso, and immortalize him in Yoruba history as Ogbori Elemosho, the man who took Elemoso's head. Ogunlola's early life is rooted in the frontier wilderness between the Yoruba and Northern territories. He was of Iberiba descent, hailing from a people known for their hunting and martial skill. At the time, the old Oyo Empire dominated Yorubaland's political landscape, but the area Ogunlola entered was a remote jungle on the empire's fringes, roughly between the towns of Igbon, Ikoyi, Iresa, and Ede. This dense forest offered refuge to those fleeing wars or seeking new opportunities. Ogunlola, an expert archer and fearless hunter, ventured into this wilderness to pursue his hunting career. With only his wife Esuu by his side, Ogunlola made camp under an ajagbon tree, a type of wild fig. The couple built a small hut beside the tree and decided to make the jungle their permanent home. They were not alone for long. Before many months passed, Ogunlola noticed thin trails of smoke rising from other parts of the forest each day, evidence that other hunters were living nearby. Curious and bold, Ogunlola set out to meet his mysterious neighbors, discovering 4 seasoned hunters who had also settled in the area. A Nupe Tapa elephant hunter camped at a hill now known as Oka Elerin, Elephant Hill. Onisile, a prince from Ota who had fled a chieftaincy dispute, he established himself in the area now called Ijeru. Orisatolu, a hunter residing around Isapa, another section of the forest. And lastly, Akande, a fourth hunter in a location called Akande, which later disappeared from history. Recognizing strength in numbers, Ogunlola befriended these settlers. He quickly established his dominance among them thanks to his unmatched hunting skills and a bit of domestic diplomacy. Esuu, his wife, was highly regarded for brewing tobacco snuff and guinea corn wine, sekete, treats which drew the other hunters to Ogunlola's camp regularly. Ogunlola's camp became a communal hub where, each evening after hunting, the men would gather at his hut to feast on beans, share palm wine, and discuss the day's events. Over time, these gatherings fostered a spirit of brotherhood and cooperation. To better organize and protect their growing community, Ogunlola and the other hunters formed a fraternity called the Alongo Society. This early social organization had several key aims. 1. Defense against slave raiders. The 17th century was rife with slave hunters, known as Sunmoni. The Alongo Alliance vowed mutual protection to keep the settlement safe. 2. Cooperative hunting. They coordinated group hunts for big game in the wild forest, an effort that increased their success and solidarity. 3. Mutual support. Members agreed to assist one another with food, shelter, and in resolving disputes, strengthening their bond as a community. As a result of this unity, what started as a few isolated camps soon grew into a thriving village. New settlers, farmers, traders, and families migrated to join the safe haven in the forest. Ogunlola's modest hut by the Ajagbon tree evolved into the administrative center of the settlement. It was there that important matters were discussed and disputes settled, effectively making Ogunlola the community's headman. By natural consensus, the fearsome hunter became the leader of the burgeoning village. His leadership was not only based on brawn but also wisdom. Ogunlola was known to arbitrate conflicts fairly, and people trusted his judgment. In these early years, his wife Esuu also introduced the worship of a deity called Orisapopo, a form of the god Orisala, to the community, a cultural contribution that would endure for generations. The Orisapopo shrine, distinguished by worshippers donning white beads and garments, became the patron deity of Ogbomoso, a spiritual glue binding the settlers together. By the late 1600s, the settlement that Ogunlola and his comrades founded had transformed from a remote jungle encampment into a recognized village. It was still nominally under the sphere of the Oyo Empire. At this stage, Ogunlola was considered a Baale, a local chief, rather than a crowned king, but it was developing its own identity. Surrounding Yoruba rulers began to take note of the little community in the forest. Ogunlola's influence and fame as a hunter-warrior were growing, setting the stage for events that would elevate him from a village headman to a figure of legendary renown. Even as his people prospered, Ogunlola's fierce temperament and sense of justice would lead him into conflict beyond the borders of his village. Oral histories recount that Ogunlola became entangled in a serious incident that changed his fate. In one version, a group of traveling traders passing through his territory got into a violent quarrel. Ogunlola intervened on one side and ended up killing an Ijesha man during the quarrel. Another version holds that an Ijesha creditor harassed Ogunlola's wife, Esuu, also called Eswola Lorungbekun, over an unpaid debt, provoking Ogunlola to kill the man in anger. Whichever story is true, the outcome was the same. A charge of murder was laid against Ogunlola. The case was reported to the local paramount chief, the Olugbon of Orele Igbon, who had jurisdiction in the area. As was customary in Yoruba land for capital offences, the Olugbon sent the accused to Oyo Ile, the imperial capital, to face the justice of the Alafin, the king of Oyo. Thus, Ogunlola was taken in chains to Oyo Ile and thrown into prison to await trial. It seemed the end of the road for the brave hunter. He was far from home and at the mercy of imperial authority. Yet it was in this darkest hour that Ogunlola's destiny took a dramatic turn. At that time, Oyo Empire itself was in peril. A fearsome warlord named Elemosho had led raiders, said to be Ibariba forces, in a campaign of terror against Oyo and its people. Elemosho and his band had laid siege to the countryside near Oyo, disrupting trade routes and causing famine and hardship through their attacking. The Alafin of Oyo, identified in some records as King Ajagbo, and his warriors had been unable to capture this elusive, deadly foe. From within his cell, Ogunlola heard tales of Elemosho's reign of terror and realized that the skills that made him a great hunter could also make him the savior of Oyo. He boldly offered the Alafin a deal: "Free me, and I will hunt down Elemosho." Desperate and intrigued, the Alafin granted Ogunlola a chance to prove himself, likely expecting that either Ogunlola would rid him of the menace or die in the attempt. Ogunlola was given his weapons and the guidance of scouts who showed him the general area of Elemosho's camp outside the city. Elemosho was no ordinary adversary. He was reputedly a giant of a man, a seasoned warrior expert with sword and bow. Ogunlola approached this task as he would stalking a dangerous animal. For several days he moved stealthily through the forests, studying Elemosho's routines and defenses from afar. Then, late one moonless night, Ogunlola struck. He crept into Elemosho's camp under cover of darkness and caught the notorious warrior off guard. With the deadly accuracy of an archer who had felled countless game, Ogunlola loosed a poisoned arrow that struck Elemosho down. He rushed forward and, in a single bold stroke, beheaded the fallen marauder. By the time Elemosho's men realized what had happened, Ogunlola had melted back into the shadows of the forest, carrying with him the severed head of Elemosho as irrefutable proof of his victory. At daybreak, Ogunlola marched into the palace of Alafin Ajagbo, presenting his gruesome trophy. The sight of Elemosho's head stunned the court of Oyo. The Alafin's shock quickly turned into overwhelming relief and gratitude. Ogunlola, the prisoner who had volunteered for a suicide mission, had accomplished what Oyo's finest warriors could not. According to tradition, King Ajagbo was so impressed that he declared Ogunlola a hero on the spot. The Alafin pardoned Ogunlola for his earlier crime and heaped rewards upon him for saving the kingdom. It is said that the king offered Ogunlola a place of honor in Oyo, even a military title or residence at the capital, but the hunter's heart remained with his distant settlement. Ogunlola respectfully declined the offer of staying in Oyo, stating his desire to return home. In Yoruba, he entreated the king, "Ejekin lo mase ohun," meaning, "Please let me go and tend to that land yonder." This humble request would have historic significance. In those words, the Alafin heard Ogunlola refer to his faraway village, and from the phrase "se ohun," to cultivate or tend to that place, the Alafin granted him a unique title, Soun, literally the keeper or planter of the distant land. Thus, Ogunlola emerged from Oyo not as a condemned man, but as a celebrated warrior chief. Before he departed, Alafin Ajagbo bestowed on him rich gifts, including royal garments, beads, and a sword of victory, symbolically recognizing him as a leader in his own right. In effect, the king appointed Ogunlola as the Baal of his home settlement, affirming his authority there. This royal endorsement was highly significant. It meant that Ogunlola's settlement was now acknowledged as a semi-autonomous domain within the empire. According to historical analysis, Ajagbo's recognition of Ogunlola was tantamount to declaring Ogbomoso an independent town, equal in status to other notable Yoruba towns of the era. When Ogunlola returned to his people, he was not only a free man but a man transformed by renown. News of his slaying of the dreaded Elemosho traveled quickly, and his homecoming was celebrated as a miraculous triumph. Ogunlola assumed the mantle of the Soun of Ogbomoso, effectively the king or paramount chief of the town. It was at this point that he acquired the famous nickname Ogbori Elemosho. In Yoruba, Ogbori Elemosho means the one who carries or brought Elemosho's head. This was initially a phrase used to describe Ogunlola's feat. The settlement was hailed as Ilu Eniti Ogbori Elemoso, the abode of him who took Elemosho's head, in honor of the brave hunter's victory. Over time, that descriptive label was shortened and attached to both the man and the place. Ogunlola himself was praised as Ogbori Elemosho, and the village itself became known as Ogbori Elemosho in popular parlance. In the decades that followed, the tongue-twisting name eventually evolved into Ogbomoso, the name the town still bears today. The very name of the city is thus a direct tribute to Ogunlola's courage and the pivotal event that secured its survival. To this day, anyone saying Ogbomoso invokes the memory of Soun Ogunlola's heroic deed. It is a city literally named after an act of valor. The nickname Ogbori Elemosho became Ogunlola's enduring nickname and a proud title for the community he led. Now firmly established as the Soun of Ogbomoso by both local acclaim and royal Oyo sanction, Ogunlola Ogundiran, as some records name him in full, began an era of leadership marked by growth and rising influence. Upon his return from Oyo, he brought with him not only the prestige of his victory, but also tangible rewards, royal clothes, beads, and the sword given by Alafin Ajagbo, which served as the insignia of his office. The once small village quickly transformed into an important town under Ogunlola's rule. His compound by the old Ajagbon tree became the official palace of the Soun, a rallying point for all the people of the area. By the turn of the 18th century, Ogbomoso was no longer regarded as a backwater encampment. It had assumed a place among the notable towns on the northern edge of Yoruba land. Ogunlola's personal authority and fame continued to grow after the Elemoso episode. Surrounding rulers who had earlier considered Ogunlola's settlement insignificant now had to reckon with its rising power. In fact, by the time of Ogunlola's later years, previously superior neighbors such as the Olugbon of Orile Igbon, the Onikoyi of Ikoyi, and the Aresa of Iresa, reportedly Ogunlola's maternal grandfather, all came to acknowledge Ogbomoso's sovereignty in the region. Ogunlola's military skill and ingenuity, proven in battle, earned their respect. No longer could these neighboring chiefs claim dominance over the area. Ogbomoso had emerged as a regional power center under Soun Ogunlola. The influx of people into Ogbomoso increased as word spread that this was a town led by a formidable warrior and blessed with security and opportunity. Many of the early hunter settlers who had once been Ogunlola's peers effectively became his subjects or allies. Indeed, their descendants would serve as district heads, Baala, of quarters like Oke-Elerin, Ijeru, and Isapa, under the supremacy of the Soun. A new dynasty was born in Ogbomoso, the House of Soun, founded by Ogunlola, which would govern the town for centuries to come. Ogunlola ruled with the same bold character that had defined his rise. He was a warrior king ready to defend his people, and under his watch the town remained safe from external threats. Prosperity grew through farming and trade, now that Ogbomoso sat along important routes between Oyo and the northern territories. Culturally, the institutions he and his wife established, like the worship of Orisapopo and the Alongo Mutual Aid Society, took deep root, giving Ogbomoso a distinct identity among Yoruba cities. After decades of leadership, Soun Ogunlola Ogundiran died in the early 1700s, having lived to witness the remarkable transformation of the settlement he founded. Historical sources estimate that he died around 1714 at a venerable age, closing a chapter of personal heroism and opening the era of an enduring lineage. His death was peaceful by most accounts, not marked by warfare or intrigue, which is perhaps fitting for a man who had already survived so many trials. Ogunlola was succeeded on the throne of Ogbomoso by one of his sons. Sources differ on who took the title next, but one tradition holds that his first son, Prince Lakale, initially became the Baale chief after him. Another record suggests his youngest son, Erinbaba Alamu Jogioro, eventually became the second Soun of Ogbomoso in the mid-18th century. What is clear is that Ogunlola left behind several children, historically noted as 5 sons and at least 1 daughter, and from these offspring sprang the branches of Ogbomoso's royal families. The 5 royal houses of Ogbomoso trace their lineage back to Ogunlola's descendants, ensuring that the blood of the great hunter flows in the veins of those who sit on the throne after him. The legacy of Soun Ogunlola's reign can be seen in the political and military stature that Ogbomoso gained in the centuries following his death. Thanks to the strong foundations he laid, Ogbomoso evolved from a tiny village into a formidable fortress city in Yoruba land. Its strategic location on the northern frontier and the warrior ethos inherited from Ogunlola made Ogbomoso a bastion of defense during tumultuous times. By the 19th century, when the Fulani jihads swept through the interior of Nigeria, Ogbomoso distinguished itself as an impregnable refuge. Historical records note that around 147 towns and villages in the surrounding region, threatened by war, sent their people to take shelter within the walled city of Ogbomoso. The town's mud walls and deep moats, manned by brave warriors, successfully repelled Fulani incursions that devastated other areas. Ogbomoso's reputation was such that it earned the praise of other Yoruba communities, and it played a significant role in stabilizing the northern Yoruba frontier during those wars. In the early 1800s, Ogbomoso even produced the commander-in-chief of the Oyo Empire's military, Toyeje Akani Alebiosu. A later Soun of Ogbomoso was appointed the Are Ona Kakanfo, Field Marshal of Oyo. This was a clear testament to the town's martial importance, a legacy that can be traced back to Ogunlola's time. Under Toyeje and others, Ogbomoso continued to distinguish itself in the defense of Yoruba interests. The warrior tradition started by Ogunlola thus had ripple effects throughout Yoruba history, contributing to the preservation of Yoruba peoples during an era of great upheaval. Beyond warfare, Ogunlola's impact is evident in the political evolution of Ogbomoso. What started as a small hunter's encampment became an autonomous chieftaincy recognized by the Alafin. Over time, particularly by the colonial era, the status of Ogbomoso's ruler was elevated from a mere Bayale to a full Oba, king, with the title Soun being officially recognized as that of a monarch in the 20th century. Modern Ogbomoso is one of the major cities in Oyo State, Nigeria, and it still honors traditional structures of governance that originated in Ogunlola's day. The Soun's palace stands near the very spot Ogunlola built his first hut, and the Ajagbon tree under which he camped remains a historical monument, a silent witness to over 350 years of Ogbomoso's history. Culturally, Ogunlola's story has enriched the oral heritage of the Yoruba people. His exploits are celebrated in songs, poems, oriki, and festivals in Ogbomoso. The deity Orisapopo that his wife Esuu introduced became deeply ingrained in the town's spiritual life, and annual traditions likely pay homage to the town's founders. The nickname Ogbori Elemosho itself became synonymous with bravery. Among the Yoruba, to invoke Ogunlola's story is to invoke the archetype of a protector and founder, a person who by courage and sacrifice delivers his people from oppression and then wisely governs them. The story of Ogbori Elemosho has transcended scholarly history and entered popular culture and folklore. For generations, it was passed down orally by griots and elders, ensuring that each new generation of Ogbomoso sons and daughters knew the tale of their city's founding. In the mid-20th century, the tale reached an even wider audience when it was adapted into an epic Yoruba film, Ogbori Elemosho, released in 1963. This classic movie dramatized the events surrounding Ogbomoso's establishment, from Ogunlola's banishment to Oyo, to his duel with Elemoso and the presentation of Elemoso's head to King Ajagbo. The lead role of Soun Ogunlola was famously played by veteran actor Chief Lere Paimo, whose performance brought the legend to life for viewers across Nigeria. The film and stage plays before it ensured that Ogunlola's heroism became known beyond Ogbomoso, cementing his status as a folk hero in Yoruba land. Even today, the phrase Ogbori Elemosho is often used in proverbs or reference to signify a great triumph over a feared enemy. And so, from the heart of a wild forest, a kingdom was born. From the hands of a hunter, a legacy carved in courage. Ogunlola came seeking only the silence of the hunt, but the gods wrote his name in thunder and blood. He faced chains and broke them. He faced death and conquered it. He faced a legend and became one. Through the ages, the people still whisper his name. Ogbori Elemosho, the man who brought back the head of fear itself. Ogbomoso stands today not just as a city of men, but as the echo of his courage, a living flame that will never die. He hunted in the forest, but what he truly found was immortality. To our ancestors who built with blood and faith, we remember you. If this story moved you, don't let it fade with the wind. Like, share, and subscribe to Tales of the Ancestors, where we awaken the heroes of Africa.